What's up, guys? Welcome back. Gonna do a quick midweek update since we've had a little back and forth here. Give you my thoughts on what's going on. So, as far as the SPY goes, pretty much what we talked about has been happening. Where I don't really have too much of a bias here because the 5-day trend was down, longer term's up, yada yada. We did finally today close back over the month-to-date VWAP here. And so that's important. But for me, for the Bulls to really get going, if they're going to have a case here, what they're going to have to do is base above this area for a little bit, let this 5-day moving average get a little closer to price. Something like this. We need to see some retest of a level, this level in particular, 367.50, and we need to see some sort of bounce. And preferably for Bulls, they want to see it rest here for a day or two, form a really nice range, and then break out. And that would be a good sign for the market in the short term, over a few days or even a couple weeks. And that might be the trigger that the Bulls need to kind of have that holiday rally. However, we do have the Fed meeting tomorrow, and as we know, that can bring volatility. And not only that, the market has been volatile, and so that's usually it's not always the best sign. The VIX hasn't really shown signs that bulls are in a good position, and so this is the front month falls for the next 30 days, and this is kind of what I pay attention to since I'm a short-term trader. And when you see divergences between the VVIX and the general indices, that's not going to be a good sign for the market typically within the next 30 days. And it's pretty rare that it's usually nothing. This is going to be one of the best leading indicators for short-term traders to look at to see when they can expect market volatility and typically a drop. It's going to show signs ahead of the VIX and ahead of the market. And while the market's been ranging and even rallying, this has just been going up. And today, while the market was going up, yes, it gapped down, but if you go down, it kept a bid here the entire day. It never made a new low as the indices were exploding here into the end of the day. So it doesn't mean the market's going to crash tomorrow, but it can. Anything can happen with the Fed meeting. I'm totally neutral coming into it, and you should be too. There are specific setups that look great. Sure, I've been trading stuff. We'll go over a couple things, some stuff from the weekend. But as far as the market in general, like, this is not a time when the VVIX looks like this. It's not a time when you want to be like super bullish and like half your account in calls, half your account long. Again, it depends on the specific setup. Specific stock, can't speak. And so there are good setups out there, but we have to realize that the market's in this, potential elevated state of volatility that's going to come in the next 30 days. We have to be aware of that and be ready for those signs when they come. Okay. But yeah, we talked about 367.50 this weekend, and there's been a few good trades on it. We gapped up here. We talked about the scenario where we gap up over the weekend, and we said, we could possibly gap over this level. But at that point, what I said is we have to see a bounce off this level and then a higher high, and we never got that. We instead came down here, held it for about an hour, and then we said, nope, no thanks. And so that puts us back into this range here that makes the average seller on the month and since last Monday back in the green. And so that just means anyone that's kind of the average buyer as well is now underwater, and so it brings more selling. But again, 364 area has held really well, and we got the bounce that we needed, and that was another trade today. We rejected in the morning, but then we go and make a higher high, and that sends us off on a little squeeze. So we still need to see this pullback, bounce, and higher high, and until that happens, I'm incredibly neutral on the market, especially because of those front month vols. Okay. A couple things, there are good setups out there. We talked about, did we talk about PITN this weekend? No, we didn't. But PITN is one that's been performing really well. So yeah, so I posted this on my Twitter and back in here somewhere that it was a really good setup. And basically after yesterday, what happened here is what you want to see around these VWAPs, around these anchored VWAPs, is you want to see long periods of holding. But then when it comes up here, this was Friday, and we had this nice base, and we held the low here. So, I mean, if you look at other lows, like let's look at this one, you get that hold, 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 and then you get a breakout, hold, 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 breakout. So that's what you want to look for with these, and it just means the buyers are totally in control, especially since like high volume events, since this event here, there's a lot of volume done, and fundamentals of the company may have changed. And so when you finally get this hold, hold, and then a higher high, that's really telling you the buyers are getting back in control of this thing. And it started to have this really nice long consolidation over it. And with a decently high short float, it was only a matter of time before we had this kind of a move. So yeah, really nice today. It finally got a close in a good area, right kind of above this area here. There's kind of a key area there, and it needed that daily close, and it finally got it, and it was off to the races. So there's good setups out here. Tesla, we had as a swing from Friday. S&P inclusion week, there's a lot of rebalancing going on, so you can kind of expect chop. So we saw it come down to the bottom of the range, and it had this really nice bounce. Friday it was holding 600 all day, so we swung some calls, got out of those, and so yeah, that was really nice. Apple, let's look at Apple. That had a nice move today. I'm sure a lot of people are looking at this, and it's definitely got some potential for continuation. It's another one that I've kind of been talking about for the past couple weeks. It's starting to make higher highs, higher lows. It's starting to hold above this VWAP somewhat, and then we can see when it finally put in an impulsive low, started holding above that VWAP, and so it did it here too. But the difference between here and here is the moving average. It starts to curl up, and so as simple as that may sound, it's a really important thing because it's not just a line. It's telling you what direction price is moving, and it's important that the trend is in your favor for any trade. You can simply see right here why when the moving average is pointed down, you just got to be careful. There's no higher high yet, right? It's just a high, and then we have to go put in the higher low first, and then a higher high, and then this is curled up. And then your chances of this kind of a good move are better. Whether you're an intraday trader or a swing trader, it's going to improve your odds. Intraday is not as important, but it helps, especially if you're an options trader and you want to play moves like this. Wait till the trend's in your favor, and it gives you the best risk reward when you have a day like this. And I believe Apple had some news, if I recall. I don't remember. I'm blanking on if there was news on it this morning, but I saw the nice gap up, and well, what it needed was kind of it's one of those daily close scenarios where it just couldn't really get a daily close in the upper end of this. It did right here. So here's the pivot. Here's how you can tell. So it got the close here, and then the next day it opens there, and it heads down and it hits a price. And so that's your inflection level. And so we open back above it again. And that led to a really nice technical breakout. You could see in the pre-market the volume being done on average for Apple was really not normal. It was high. And so that was on our watch list this morning. That was one of our options plays that could boom. And pay attention when stuff, use some sort of scanner, find out the pre-market volume, find a scanner that can give you what's the average volume that's usually done, and then what's the average volume that's done in the pre-market already, and look for stuff that's, say, 3, 4, 5% of its average daily volume already being done in the pre-market or more. And if you match that with a significant gap that's a bit abnormal, like Apple's here, that can typically find you stuff that's going to move a lot, especially if the setup's really good like this. So that's another one. Diz, real quick, since it is still pretty in play, this one looks really good to me right now. It held this all afternoon, and there's a lot of view ups here, and you don't really need all of them, but that general area is where you want to see Diz holding, right around 173.50. Held it all afternoon, and this is one that I'm looking for this to go, guys. I'm really liking this setup. We'll have to see what the market does after the Fed, but essentially you have this power earnings gap, essentially is what you'd call it. It wasn't earnings, but it's a significant event with high volume, and it gets bought, and people want to buy it at that price still, and it closes strong. Has an inside day, it breaks out and closes back inside, so they're not letting it break down. And so even if this can go quickly, maybe depending on news, there could be more significant vaccine news that's coming out, and something that could spark a park reopening at a certain point. And so that's something that could get it moving. Disney can turn on its momentum pretty quickly. It can also kill its momentum pretty quickly. So we'll have to see how it's going to react. But for me, let's just walk through the scenarios. So yeah, for me, it's getting above there, about 175-ish. And specifically a daily close would be nice. You don't have to rush into trades like this. If you see it going, typically there's gonna be time to get in. The target on Disney that would make logical sense is 200 at this point. It's really strong on the daily, weekly. It's really strong on the short term, and so if it gets some sort of signal, it's most likely going to pull back. Most stuff doesn't just go in straight lines. Wait half a day, wait a day, and get back in at 175. That's what I'm thinking. Another option, which ideally would be better for bulls, I think, would be more consolidation. And so maybe you actually get a range here for a while, or maybe you even drop and start building a wedge, and you actually test this gap, and then you see a reversal, and then higher low, higher high, range, boom. And then you fly to 200. So it doesn't have to happen right away. And I think it's better if it doesn't. But I think if this can get back over 175-ish and put in some sort of flag or another high volume, maybe opening drive, something similar to this where it goes red to green really fast and it's on, higher than average volume. It's another signal you could get. So I would be sure to be watching Diz. That's one that should be high on your list. Yeah, that's it. I guess a couple others are Snow and then RKT that I'm watching. Snow is one that had a really nice high volume reversal today. There's not really much that I want to do with this at this point, but I think it's one to watch. It's got this view up from the high here, and it's moving down. It's probably going to end up coming in around 340, 350. If we can get back above that area, start making some moves, that could take a while. It might not happen at all, but that's something I'm watching mainly because it's come down to this VWAP here, which has been really, really important in its past. And we held that. So, there's a potential that we move higher now. And then last one, RKT. This one is coming up on its IPO VWAP, and it's had a really, really nice look at this volume shelf here. This is really indicative of a big move coming. And it's looking constructive, and this is now a higher low here. And so what we want to see is a higher high here. And so this VWAP is going to come in right around that high. And so we want to see some sort of see some sort of hold over that level. Ideally, that would be over multiple days for the best chance of working. Another way is it has a very strong high volume rally. Maybe let's just say, for example, that it's tomorrow. Ideally, it wouldn't be tomorrow, but let's say it was. What you'd want to see really is a daily close over that level, really strong close, and something that's maybe holding over the intraday view up all day after it breaks through. Just no sign of sellers anymore, because RKT has a really high short flow, and so that could typically be a sign that it's just going to run afterwards. All shorts are just trying to get out, and essentially they're going to be fucked. And so that's another way you could look at that. But ideally, it would get up here and then actually base and kind of let these moving averages come up and just show that buyers are actually willing to purchase here again, because they haven't been for a long time. This is one of the best setups I see right now that has really good potential, and this one in Diz, definitely two to watch. I'll leave it there. Guys, have a good night. Hope this helped. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.